Welcome to Golf Industry Guru and the Gig Podcast, where we interview the best and brightest golf and hospitality leaders on the planet. On today's episode, you will learn some proven real-world solutions that'll help you and your team solve some of your biggest golf business challenges. So stick around for some tips, tools, and training to get you, your people, and your business powered on. Here's your host, James Kronk.
I'm excited. What can I say? I'm ready.
Yes, you are ready. And I'm ready. And welcome to the Gig Podcast. And here we are with Gregg Patterson, club manager extraordinaire, Tribal Magic, 34 years at the Beach Club. Gregg, it is fantastic to have you here. Is your lovely wife Elaine with you and in the house right now, helping you take care of all your business?
James, Elena is in the house. She's doing Pilates at the moment. And because of the Pilates, she's the queen of love.
Yes. Well, I have had the pleasure of, Gregg, of you and Elena and seeing many parts of the world, traveling around in conferences. Normally we're in person and we're talking live at this time of the year. We're normally in some far off place in the world. Sharing the buzz and the love and the glow.
You've learned well.
Yes. Well, I have the unfortune of often following Gregg on stage, and I can tell you for a speaker, that is not what you want to be doing. But here we are doing a virtual podcast, Gregg, and it's wonderful to hear you and to chat with you, and thanks for giving us some time.
Happy to do it. Looking forward to the conversation.
And we're going to talk today about leadership. You know, it was you and I both know, stuck in our home offices, doing virtual Pilates or whatever else you might be doing. It's a new world with COVID. It's a new world with we just finished coming to the end, I guess, of the 2020 year. And I'm fascinated to hear from you about what you've witnessed in this last kind of 6, 7, 8 months about leadership. You do so much work and conversations and chatting with club managers in the world, all over the world in different parts. What are the things that you've learned from this whole experience?
Well, the most important thing I've learned is that good leaders are flourishing in a time of crisis such as now. And the ones that don't have those leadership skills are being passed by the wayside. There's a lot of leadership turnover right now. A lot of managers are losing their jobs. One of the things I'm looking at in 2021, I was talking to some headhunters the other day. I said, what is one of the things that you're looking for in the managers you're about to hire or recommending? An established track record of creativity during a time of crisis. Huge issue. And a lot of managers out there say, oh, we are secretaries. You tell us what to do and we'll do it. And they do it very well. But during a time of crisis, that ain't what you want from a leader. The fact of the matter is now you need that creativity and the ability through your example to carry that club and that staff and that membership into the future. And I'm finding out right now that a lot of managers ain't got the goods.
Well, you and I, both know that the longevity of a manager at a club is tenuous at the best of times.
Absolutely.
And I heard a great discussion the other day talking about the challenge of club managers being in a club, trying to appease, their 800 different bosses. Mm-hmm. And so being creative sometimes can cause, some waves to go right when you're creative. So how do you balance that? How do you balance being creative and also creating energy, but also keeping the egg salad sandwich at 25 cents on Sundays?
Well, first of all, creativity with every manager is a continuous, incremental, and forever process because things change. So change means creativity, but change needs change management. And one of the problems is that managers haven't been instructed. There are very few classes except mine on how to manage change. People talk about, we're going to do change and this and that. And I hear all this blubbering going on. But I said, what are the tactics you're going to use to make sure that change sticks? And that's a big thing. How do you make change stick? And I find that the key to the whole thing is not creativity. You have to have that because that is where the ideas for change come from. But you have to communicate. To me, the communications are the absolute key. And a lot of managers haven't been well versed in the skill sets needed to be an effective communicator.
What do you think is the key to being an effective communicator? What would be some of the best practices, I guess, that you would share with a manager on how to improve their communication when it comes to things like that?
First of all, know what you're talking about absolutely and completely. Know it inside and out. Do your frequently asked questions. Know the stuff better than anybody else. Write your white papers. Do your debriefs each day. Write up your notes. Put your ideas into your idea bank so that you are the fountain of ideas. All of a sudden they come to you. It's like, boom, I've got the ideas. And that excitement obviously helps people move in a direction where they believe you. Because that's what trust comes down to. There is an intangible in trust, and there's a tangible. Tangible, he said he was going to do it. Did he do it? And afterwards, did he tell it? That's great. But the other thing is, do they believe you as a leader? Do you have the qualities that make you a believable person? And what are those qualities? So that's a huge part of this whole leadership issue. And so that skill set. So if you're talking about how do you move people in that direction, know everything that you're talking about. Love what you're talking about. This is absolutely critical. Number 2, I'd say. 1, know what you're talking about. Love it. Like if you talk to me about clubs, I love clubs. So anybody who talks to me doesn't have the love of club I have. Simple as that. So I know what I'm talking about, both on the specific level in my club, and I know on the general level in clubs in general. I love it. And then what I want to do is to channel the love. Because people want to hear that. They want to hear that you know what you're talking about, love what you're talking about, and that you can communicate it effectively. There are 3 steps to it. So once you've done that, then you talk about how do you use that to nudge people in the right direction, like the board of directors, the members, and the staff. 3 groups that every manager deals with, right? Or owner instead of a board, but it's the same thing. Now, what I've always said is that as an activist club manager, understand that's what they paid me the big bucks for, is to be the activist. My job is to nudge them. And what do you mean by nudge? To influence those who make decisions. Like I'm an administrator, but I influence policy decision at the board. How do you influence those who make decisions to make decisions consistent with your vision of the good? Now, some managers say, oh, that's so arrogant. I said, look, that's what they pay you the money for. You're the pro. Let me give you the background because I know what I'm talking about. I love what I'm talking about, and I can convey the message. So when you talk about moving, and there are all sorts of tricks, and what do you write? How do you speak? What do you do? Obviously, we could go into that at great length, but that's the key thing right there. Do you know what you're talking about inside and out so that when somebody talks to you, they feel your love and you are able to articulate it clearly? Like if I had a camera, I'd like to go into a finance committee meeting, put the camera up, and I want to see how the manager conveys to all these guys that were educated at Stanford and Harvard and Yale in their business schools, because my experience was, because those are the people I had on my finance committee, they don't even look at the numbers. They give you the look. And they say, does this guy know what he's talking about? Does he love what he's talking about? And can he articulate it to us? Anyway.
Well, and I think they want to be successful, right? I mean, they want you to make decisions that makes their committee look good, to makes the board look good, to make the president look good.
Well, one of the things, and I hear this from managers all the time, particularly now when people are losing their jobs, they say, oh, the board's trying to micromanage me. And I said, dude, they only micromanage you if you ain't doing your job. Yes. So the first thing I tell managers, you got to be competent, dude. You know, business is job one. You got to do that. But no board member wants to spend their weekends, worrying about financials. They say, we've got Gregg here. He's under control. Let us articulate what he's already told us. Again, and I hear this all the time. Oh, the board, they started micromanaging. I said, dude, that says a failure on your part, which is a terrible thing to say, but it is. Managers don't want to hear that. They want to always blame somebody else. I said, dude, personal responsibility. What did I do wrong? How do you articulate it? So fill in the holes, because if you don't fill the holes, that vacuum will be filled by the board of directors. You in trouble, dude.
And do you think, Gregg, so with COVID and this past season, I mean, obviously golf is up all over the world from a participation standpoint. Who'd have thought a pandemic would increase the rounds of golf? But that doesn't necessarily mean that everyone's happier. And that, I know clubs where members can't get a tee time and they want to play 6 days a week. And now, there's no guests, there's no outside play. The club's losing money in banquets. There's all kinds of challenges there. And I guess those are the things that are causing this strife for some of the club managers that did not handle things well. That obviously, like any crisis, it raises things to the top, right? It exposes strengths and it exposes weaknesses. Would you agree?
Well, I absolutely agree. And one of the number one thing for every leader and people is their why. Why are you in the club business? Why do clubs exist? And I find that during a time of crisis, your why surfaces. Churchill says, we ain't giving up, right? That's his why. We ain't giving up. It's really clear. My why is easy. And I ask managers all the time, and I find the failure of leadership is when I ask them, what is your why of clubdom? They can't answer me. They give me some business school answer. My why of club, because during a time of crisis, you retreat to your why because it clarifies your decision-making process. My why is to generate big happy with staff and members. That's number one. Number two, and I do that through relationships and community and by delivering the goods, services, programs, and facility necessary to create relationships and community. So you take a look at golf right now. People are saying, oh, golf rounds are up, but are they happy? I said, dude, this is where club with a capital C, capital L, capital E, capital B comes in. We're talking about the emotional cement that should be part of every experiential activity at the club. And you think it's about the golf course, dude? I have members, these are multi-millionaires and billionaires. They just soon play golf on a 9-hole course as long as they're with their friends. And they've got this really great starter out there and the pro shop and the bartender they like. Don't tell me it's about stuff. Very few of us us who are in clubs, have clubs like Augusta National. Ain't going to happen, right? So how do we make our club experience more special? And that's having stuff that's good enough. You got to have the stuff. Again, that's stuff. But the emotional cement is what makes people stick to the stuff. And obviously, that's a huge issue. And managers don't talk that way. I find a lot of new managers went to business school. My background is British imperial history. Well, Canada doesn't want to hear about that, but that's what I is. The fact of the matter is that they were not liberal arts educated. They see it as numbers. They start to see their members. This is a leadership thing, vision. They see their members as customers and not members. I've always seen members as members, not customers. Customers you treat differently. So it's about leadership. The why has to be there. In a time of crisis will reveal whether you got the why or you don't have the why.
Well, I always like to say that sometimes when we're coaching managers, you're never going to lose your job because of the cost of sales of your food cost. You're going to lose your job if the dining experience is not what the members are looking for, from a service standpoint, from an atmosphere standpoint, from a cleanliness standpoint, from an event standpoint. No one's going to, sit down and go, well, the reason why you're going, Bill or Susie, is because, your food cost was 37%. It's the experience.
Right. Exactly. Experience. E equals experience equals value. Value equals experience minus cost. Let me get it right here.
Yes.
And the mistake that managers make is they think it's cost. I said, dude, nobody cares about cost. I ran the beach club as general manager for almost 34 years. Raised the dues every year. Never once did I get a complaint about dues increases because they had the value equation in their mind. Value equals experience minus cost. So what I'm saying now during the crisis is the people experience will make whatever physical experience you have much larger. Like by way of example, here in Southern California, you can't go inside the clubhouse.
Right.
So all of a sudden you've got to make the patio experience a more profound experience. And you can't put wooden walls around it and all the stuff that we do in the clubhouse proper. How can you amplify the experience so that the cost that you're asking isn't objected to? People are saying, oh, we got to cut the dues. I said, dude, you need money more than ever because I don't get rid of staff, right? As simple as that. We're going to need more money. How do we do that? People don't object to paying if they're getting experience. Like if all of a sudden you get rid of the core staff because it saves you money and you bring in all newbies because they're cheaper, you ain't upping the experience. People say, am I getting value for my membership dollars? Huge issues. These are all leadership issues during a time of crisis, but they're the same leadership issues you deal with during the year. The reason we have such high turnover in managers, I mean, in the States, it's like 2.5 years or something like that, which is horrifying. And it's because they don't understand the fundamentals of leadership as a club activist. Anyway.
And in your travels and your experience, when you come across those superstars, the ones that are sought after for the jobs, the one that do keep their jobs and are successful long term and have longevity and tenure and are making all the dough, is there some traits that you see, some key qualities that you see that those managers have that we should all aspire to and all aspire to have?
Absolutely. The first thing is what I call people skills. And if you go to a business school, they never have classes in people skills. Are you good with staff and are you good with members? What I've always found, I always tell people one of my axioms is, if the kids love you, the parents will too, right? Mm-hmm. So how many people have taken a class in managing youth relationships, right? They think it's about the guys in the finance committee. Dude, the guy on the finance committee is never going to get rid of you if their kids like you. Right? And I was Santa Claus. I did all this stuff, right? The kids love you. They're not going to get rid of you. So I think that's one of the things that's often forgotten. Obviously competence is job one, but most of the skills that we have as business people could be taught to a high school kid. Reading a financial statement? But getting the philosophy behind the financial statement, now that's a big deal. That is what they pay the manager for. Like I like to tell people when you're doing a budget, I don't care about the numbers. Most finance committees want to see the numbers first. I said, dude, let's talk philosophy first. Let's go through the assumptions. If we agree on the assumptions, the numbers are easy, right? But if we don't agree on the assumptions, we're in trouble. It's like, I believe that on every member's birthday, you should get 3 free drink tickets. And if you say that, you say it's a philosophy of relationship building and of emotional cement. The finance committee can't say, well, dude, that's going to cost us $15,000. I said, dude, sorry about the dude stuff, but I'm here in Southern California.
Yeah, I hear you.
My job, and one of the things that managers don't do, leaders convince people of stuff that they're hesitant to believe. Right? I'm a finance guy. It's like bocce ball courts, like our bocce ball court. Oh, it's $120,000. You're Looney Tunes. And I said, we're in the business of retaining members, right? Now it's a huge success. Obviously, we did it, and it's a big success. And they say, we're making so much money. I said, we don't make any money on it, but we keep members forever.
Yes.
So what is your philosophy? What is your why? My
but
why.
Greg, don't you find this as well that if you ask lots of clubs to define their why, their differentiation between the other club down the street, what are their core values as a club? What are they seeking, in their membership? What is it? Why should I join your club versus club, B? They often can't answer that. The club can't answer that question. So the general manager has difficulty doing the same thing.
Well, I'll give you an example. The Beach Club, everybody, they get all these McKinsey guys to come in and say, mission, vision, values. I've heard so much of that bull, I cannot stand it. When I was getting my MBA, right, I'm hearing mission, vision, values. And these were some of the most awful leaders I've ever seen. And they can write down the mission, vision, values, can't lead it. Well, I said, I'm going to create for the Beach Club because I saw what the DNA of the club was. I didn't create the DNA, but I saw it. My job was to expose it and then to create an environment, good service programs, facilities, all that, an environment that reflects that DNA. So I said, I got to come up with a mission statement that every busboy can remember. Every busboy. Right? Because usually McKinsey will come in and they'll give you something and nobody can remember it. Say, let me look it up. I said, that's a great mission. No, this was the mission and it's carried over now. I was there 34 years and now the new manager we got now, the third one in 4 years, by the way, but she's going to be a superstar, really. And everything she sends out, she says, and our mission is what I always said. The other two managers never talk that way. One, we are in the happiness business. We are a home at the beach. We are the new neighborhood. That's it. Everything I did, that is the why. My why became the club's why, and that's why I stayed there, because their why and my why are in alignment, right? A manager is only going to be a success. You cannot be Caesar's wife, all things to all people. You have to find a place that has DNA consistent with your own. Well, the Beach Club did, and I didn't know it when I went down there. I didn't know it was going to be that way. I found that the DNA was consistent with mine. I said, wow. So how can I articulate that in such a way that people can remember it and live it, the finance committee and everybody else? We're in the happiness business. Now, the definition changes, right? Believe me, 40 years ago now almost, when I came to the Beach Club, the idea of having a gym, they would have shot you. Now, if you don't have a gym, they'll shoot you. definition of happiness changes. When I got there, backgammon was huge. Everybody played backgammon on the beach inside. Now nobody plays backgammon, right? So one of the happiness, we are a home at the beach. What are the qualities? Familiarity, relationships, comfort. So all of a sudden I can tell my decorator that, and she knows how to decorate the place, right? And lastly is we are the new neighborhood. We're in a world where there are many. Neighborhood for me, when I grew up, all the kids lived around there. Everybody went in everybody's houses. The parents that knew each other. Doesn't happen anymore, particularly in Los Angeles. So they come down to a place where there is a new neighborhood, and they can define the values of that neighborhood. Like, I live in a lovely neighborhood here, but I wave to the people and how are you? I'm not going out of my way to be with them because I don't know if their values are like mine. Do I want to talk to them for 5 hours? Do they read books the way I do? Whatever it might be. I go down to the beach club, and because I know what the values are of that culture, I say, this is for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So, and
if you're a general manager right now, Greg, at a private club, and you're unclear about, your state at the club, I guess, what kind of questions, what kind of discussions should a general manager have with his president, with his or her president board?
Well, first of all, the first thing that the manager's got to do, any leader should do this, but if you're going to talk about what you're talking about now, the first thing is to create your template.
Right.
How do I define success in a club? One of the things I say, everybody knows everybody's name. How's that? And they say, well, hold it, we're in a golf club and nobody knows. Great. What's your template? As a leader, as a manager, you have a template of the good, right? These are the things I'm looking for. Mine is everybody knows everybody's name, staff greet members, staff greet guests, gag, greet, engage, goodbye. I mean, they do all these things. I have a template. And if I sit down with the president and I said, this is how we're going to evaluate their place, he says, dude, you don't have to have a sense of humor here. We want golf. It's like, great. I might be in the wrong club, I say. I want golf with humor. Right. And they say, oh, you see what I mean? So the first thing I do is create a template, or I would tell a manager. Next thing is, what is your benchmark for the good? Where do you want to take this? And I might say, okay, upbrief. Great clubs to me, every supervisor conducts an upbrief in the morning and has within it, I call it 5-minute education, right? That's my template. So and who does that? The beach club did it when I was there. Right now, I go down and play bocce and drink wine and eat food. And so I can observe, but that's what I did. So I give a template. So I had a supervisor certification program. This is my template for a supervisor. You don't like it? You're gone. I mean, it's very clear, right? But they know how to judge it. So I would go to the president first and say, this is my template for success. Right. And on that, there are two types of things. There are social KPIs. Does everybody greet everybody? And then there are financial KPIs. Right. I understand that. So that's my template. And it's not short. It's long. The president wants me to go in there and guide me through success. How do you define success? Then I say, this is the benchmark. This is This is where I want to take the club. Right. And then I said, I'm going to do an audit right now. I always tell managers, new managers, first 2 weeks, do the audit, use your template. They say, oh, what do you mean? It's like, great, you're not going to be there long. And no, it's funny. I tell you what to do, you don't do it, and you're gone. And you say, oh, the board was terrible. No, dude, you were terrible. So you do the audit. Where are we right now? Sorry, and I could keep going on. Anyway, where are we now? Where are we going? Who are we going to use to get there? What are the tactics we're going to use to get there? And what do I need to do to inspire the organization to get from here to there? Anyway, fun.
No, I think I love it. And what I find so often is that even whether it's managers, it doesn't matter whether you're the director of golf or the chef or the general manager, so often when you ask them, how are you measured? They can't answer that question. And I always say, well, of course you're going to have trouble. If nobody knows how you're measured, if you don't know how you're measured, then you're going to have those conversations. You got to make that happen.
Well, the problem is that the measurement often comes from the board. They say this way, no, dude, I'm the manager. I want to see if we're in alignment. I'm going to bring you my measurement tools and see what it is. By way of example, I'll say, do you have a monthly all-staff meeting? I will measure you by that. I'll tell you exactly what I want. I don't like the saying, oh, do you make the staff happy? It's like, dude, I mean, that might be a summary, but that's not a tactic. I want tactics, dude. So one of your big column things over here was staff happy. Great idea. But you understand my template I'm creating now, staff happy. But the next column is, what are the things we want? There are like 30 things I can tell you. I can tell you right now, 30 things I want to keep the staff happy, right? And then measure me. They say, well, that doesn't matter to us. It matters to me because staff happy comes that. They say, well, it's not necessary that you have a debrief at the end of each day and that you create these red books, green books. I mean, all the stuff that I do. Say, great, I'm happy. But that's how I measure myself. And then I tell managers, I made it 34 years, made a lot of money. I got the airplane, you don't.
Well, I think that what we want to do, it's so easy all the time, is to just talk about results. Hey, our staff satisfaction survey was 93%. Our member survey was whatever. So everything's fine. But everything's not fine because, as you said, it's about the steps that it takes to get to those results. Because when something goes off the rails, and I think we experienced this during the last 8 months with the crisis, was that all of a sudden, rocks get overturned and onions get peeled back, and all of a sudden what everyone thought was happy and go lucky is not. And if you don't have the tactics, then all of a sudden you discover, I don't know how to fix it.
Hit it right on the nose, the tactics. I'll give you an example. The first thing was staff happy, and I know we'll talk about this at some time in the future, but you, the manager, better be a happy guy or girl, right?
Yeah.
Or supervisor. So the first thing I address when I talk about staff happy is, how do I make sure that the supervisor or the manager's happy? I was just doing some work in an area club, really great club. And a lot of my members and all my friends at the beach club are my past presidents. I had 34 presidents when I was there, and we're close, So I had a new one every year. And they're a member at one of the area clubs. It's really a prestigious club. And the problem is the staff aren't happy. So the manager brought me over. He said, you got to make the staff happy. Well, let's work on the supervisors first. And obviously what happened is that they're not any happier than they were. The staff aren't any happier. And the members tell me, well, I took the money and I ran. I don't care. So but you see, I'm not a consultant in the classic sense. I'm not looking for billable hours. All I'm looking for is, let me give you the template. Leadership means that you take the template and you make it happen. So 100%. the last part of my template, and I love the idea of templates, is how, right? What is the checklist of things that you will do to make this step happen, right? Like staff happy, up briefs in the morning. Up briefs should include these 5 things, right? And then how do you go about doing it? Educate the supervisor. There are tactics. There are behaviors you're looking for. I'm always looking for the tactics needed to make the behaviors happen. And the problem is, people love to, our cost of sales is X, Y, and Z. I said, dude, great. And you're losing members. I would get 12 to 15 new members a year. We had 650 member families. The reason is that's how many died every year, right? Nobody left. No, so literally nobody left, right?
Sure.
So how do you keep them? And anyway, this is what we're talking about. This is leadership now.
So, Greg, we're going to a few things, actually. We're going to talk about staff happy in another podcast. And thank you so much, because I'd love to pick your brain because as you said, it's about happiness from the inside out, right? Everyone on the inside has got to be engaged and empowered and happy. And then that ultimately results in great experiences and great service, and that results in happy members. It's pretty straightforward. It's not rocket science. But 2 things for you. One is, you and I have chatted this before over a beverage at some point, but I love tribal. I love
caffeine or vino.
Well, I won't discuss.
I call it caffeine in conversation. Or with you, James, it's vino and verbosity.
That's right. Yes, exactly. It's tough getting a word in edgewise with both of us. But Greg, tell me about tribal. Tell me about tribal magic and about that kind of concept that you have.
Well, tribal magic. When I came out of the Beach Club, obviously I'd had a speaking and writing business for a long time as sort of a side thing, and my club encouraged me to do that because it kept the buzz on and ideas and creativity. So when I decided to resign as general manager of the Beach Club and just become a member, which is much better, I said, I've got to start a business because I no longer have manager of the Beach Club anymore. So I like to say that I'm the founder, the president, and sole employee of Tribal Magic. And people say, why did you choose a strange name like that? Because it doesn't sound professional. I said, because that's what I sell. I sell tribe. I create member tribe and staff tribes. That's what I create. And one of the greatest hungers that people have during the virus and otherwise is, I want a tribe. a community of caring, right? A group of people that give me the warm embrace. I mean, so tribe is there, and magic is transforming the ordinary into the profound. By way of example, a kid meets. I love dealing with kids in my office. Anyway, I could go into that, but whenever I'd meet a kid or an adult, even, I do the potatoes, knuckles, and French fries, and they'd always laugh, right? And so all of a sudden, that's magic. Meeting is no longer just meeting, it's magic. And I find that, I'll be honest with you, a lot of people aren't magicians out there. They have a beautiful clubhouse and they like to say, oh, I spent $30 million for the new clubhouse. I said, dude, and it has no heart. I said, it's a building without a heart. Your job is to put club into clubhouse. And the thing is, well, how do you do that, Greg? Well, pay me and I'll tell you.
Well, on that note, I think I'll let you continue to deliver your travel magic. I mean, Greg, you travel all over the world normally, and now you're doing it virtually, still doing some traveling, I know. And I think that, I've seen so many people inspired by you. Certainly when you're on stage, and I have no doubt when you do consulting individually, the same thing, and when you coaching managers, the same thing. I would say that what I love about you and your story and experience, and what I think our listeners should take from this is something I've said before. No one's asking you to be a Gregg Patterson or to be anyone else. Like, you have to be yourself. But if you're going to be a manager in this business, you have to love people. You have to love the experience, the positives and the negatives, on the challenges and the benefits of dealing with employees, of dealing with suppliers, of dealing with customers and members. And I think that's as you said, it's a trait. It's something that you have to engage in, and you have to wake up every morning. And once again, no matter whether there's a leak in the kitchen or there's a finance committee meeting at 7 p.m., you gotta love the ride of dealing with people. Would you not agree?
Well, absolutely. One of the things I've always talked about, and James, you and I have talked about it, is a manager, no matter where they are, what they're doing, has to see the wonderfulness of where they are, what they're doing, and who they're with. And most people just see the negatives. And, they look at, oh, these are tough times. I said, dude, these are great times. We can be more creative than ever. People are receptive to creativity. It's the way you see life. I like to say, James, life is neutral. Your club is neutral. The way you see it is everything. And I see a lot of people that don't have the eyes to see, James. Yeah. And if you and I can give anybody a deeper understanding of clubdom, and through that give them the eyes to see the glory of this business and of the people relationships that are fundamental to the business, then we've failed. And that's our job.
100%. Greg, thank you so much. You have a fantastic day. Awesome to have you on the Golf Industry Guru podcast. Our listeners are going to love the wisdom that you embark, and I look forward to having you again.
I look forward to it, James. What a hoot. You've given me the buzz.
Thanks for listening to the Gig Podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and mostly that you learned a few things that will help you improve your business. Join us next time as we continue to bring you the best and brightest golf and hospitality leaders on the planet. Thanks for listening.